You've heard of kings dying on the battlefield, poisoned by rivals, or falling to assassins. But what about a king who died from dessert? That's right. Adolf Frederick of Sweden didn't perish in war. He perished at the dinner table. He quite literally ate himself to death. Lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, champagne, fatty meats, and 14, yes, 14, servings of his favorite dessert, semla buns swimming in warm milk. It was the kind of feast that would make even Henry VIII groan. And it was too much even for a king. On February 12, 1771, Adolf Frederick's insatiable appetite finally caught up with him and finished him off. Adolf Frederick was born on May 14, 1710, in Gottorp, a region in present-day northern Germany. He wasn't born into the Swedish royal line. He was actually part of a minor German ducal family. Yet through a complex web of European politics, royal marriages, and the influence of foreign powers like Russia, he was eventually chosen as the heir to the Swedish throne. He became King of Sweden in 1751 during a period known as the Age of Liberty, when real power in the country was held by the Riksdag, parliament, not the monarchy. In effect, Adolf Frederick was more ceremonial than sovereign. Many described him as pleasant and good-natured, but lacking political will. He signed what he was told, smiled for portraits, and was generally considered a harmless figurehead. Still, he had his passions, chief among them food. While other rulers made history on the battlefield, Adolf Frederick made it at the buffet. And though he played only a minor role in politics, he played a major role in one of the most infamous royal deaths in history. So, how does a mild-mannered monarch with limited political power become legendary? Not through conquest or reform, but through a single catastrophic meal. Let's dig in. It all happened on Shrove Tuesday, a day traditionally associated with indulgence before Lent. And indulge he did. That evening, Adolf Frederick sat down to a meal that was legendary even before it killed him. First, platters of lobster tails and caviar arrived. Then came a sauerkraut, a full heaping of it, loaded with smoked meats and served with butter-drenched potatoes. He washed it down with mead and champagne, multiple bottles, in fact. Servants reportedly cleared and replaced his goblet over 10 times. By then, most mortals would be full. But the king wasn't done. He called for dessert, semla. 14 steaming bowls were prepared, each with a bun swimming in warm milk, filled with almond paste and topped with whipped cream. One after another, he devoured them. A palace maid later told her cousin that the king joked mid-meal, "I'll sleep like a bear tonight." She said he smiled, wiped cream from his mustache, and asked for more. But that night, he complained of cramps. Severe ones. His stomach bloated beyond relief. By morning, the king was dead. Official cause? Overconsumption. What exactly happens when you eat yourself to death? Let's break it down. The sheer volume of food overwhelmed his digestive system. Modern experts believe it was likely gastric rupture, possibly compounded by heart failure or pancreatitis. The semla buns, dense, sugary, and milk-soaked, acted like expanding sponges in his stomach. 14 servings of semla alone would equal nearly 6,000 calories. Add in seafood, meat, alcohol, and dessert, and we're looking at a meal that could feed a small village. A visiting German physician once commented that Adolf Frederick had a constitution of a man twice his size, suggesting that he regularly ate far beyond his frame. Others suspected underlying health issues like diabetes or obesity-related heart complications, although medical records from the era are vague. Whatever the true cause, one thing is clear. His Last Supper became his last breath. The reaction? A strange blend of mourning and morbid amusement. While the Swedish court grieved formally, the public whispered jokes. Satirical pamphlets appeared almost overnight, showing cartoons of the king with a belly full of buns. One verse mockingly praised him as the patron saint of pastry. Foreign dignitaries didn't miss the chance to snicker, either. A British envoy reportedly wrote, "Let it be known that Sweden's monarch was slain by gluttony and not the sword." But there was tenderness too. A letter from his youngest daughter, Sophia, described him as gentle in speech and tender in affection, even if too fond of cream. His subjects respected his kindness, if not his discipline. Every Shrove Tuesday, Swedes still eat semla. But they also remember Adolf Frederick. He turned a national treat into a cautionary tale, and maybe deep down into a beloved tradition. What makes Adolf Frederick so fascinating isn't just the way he died, but the life he lived. He wasn't a tyrant or a warrior. He was a monarch of routine and comfort. He loved woodworking. He reportedly gifted carved bowls and wooden spoons to his servants on their birthdays. He also adored clocks, at one point owning over 300, and personally wound them every morning like a ritual. He spent afternoons in the palace gardens, sometimes barefoot, talking to gardeners about soil quality. He kept a personal diary where he recorded daily meals in vivid detail. He once interrupted a council meeting to comment on the perfect butteriness of a new pastry served during lunch. His ministers didn't even flinch. Everyone knew the king had priorities, and maybe that's why his death is so striking. It wasn't war or scandal. It was a very human moment of overindulgence, something almost anyone can relate to, just not to such a deadly degree. They won't tell you this in your high school history class. Adolf Frederick's death is often a footnote, but in the strange corners of royal history, it's a highlight. He reminds us that monarchs were human, prone to habits, desires, and yes, cravings. While some kings lost their heads, Adolf Frederick lost a battle with dessert. Some modern Swedes call him our most relatable king. Others say he died how he lived, with gusto and whipped cream. In an era of powdered wigs, court politics, and Enlightenment thought, he died in the most embarrassingly human way possible. Adolf Frederick's legacy lives on, not in law or war, but in pastry. He is remembered every year when semla buns hit Swedish bakeries. Some eat just one. Others dare to match his legendary number. There's even an unofficial holiday challenge on Swedish social media called the Royal 14. It dares brave eaters to conquer all 14 buns in one sitting. Most fail. Some vomit. All remember the king. And every time someone says, "Don't eat too much," somewhere in the back of their mind, they're thinking of the monarch who didn't listen. He ruled quietly. He died loudly. And his story, like his stomach that night, is still full.